Welcome to r/malicious compliance, where we share stories of people conforming to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel, and for so many likes. The first story. Client ordered a pizza and wanted to return it because he did not order it. The second story. Bill's little project is $500,000 over budget. The third story. Owner of the apartment demands that I call him in case of problems. I call and he is stressed. Today's first story is, when your impatience over pizza and disrespect to employees gets you what you deserve. Quite some time ago, I worked for a pizza place. On weekdays, we were slow enough that I would take calls, make the pizzas, and do delivery, and the manager would be my backup while I was out. And when it was dead, we would just hang out and talk about whatever. It was on a day like this that I got this call. I'll skip the part where I confirm who he is. Our system pops up with a message: this guy is a chronic complainer, which is code for scams for free pizza. Great. FML. Order was for delivery. Me. Okay, what would you like to order? C. I'd like a large meat lover's pizza with no pork, and no chicken. No pork, no chicken, and extra cheese. Me. Okay, a large... Sir, a meat lover's pizza comes with... C. I know what it comes with. Me. Okay, but... C. Meat lovers, no chicken, no pork, extra cheese. Me. Sir, if I ring it up... C under breath. Jesus Christ. Normal voice. Just put in the order for a meat lover's, no chicken, no pork, extra cheese. At this point, I loudly repeat this back into the phone to make sure my manager hears it. Here's why. A meat lover's pizza is one of the most expensive ones you can order. Adding toppings to it costs more, typically because you won't get any special pricing. It's not cost prohibitive, but this comes into play in a minute. The toppings on a meat lover are chicken, ham, pork, bacon, pork, pepperoni, pork sausage, pork, Italian sausage, pork, beef sausage. So literally, he's ordering a large beef sausage pizza extra cheese for the price of a large meat lover's extra cheese. Also, we had a 2 toppings large deal for half the cost of a meat lover's extra cheese. Me. Will that complete your order? C. Yes. How long? Me. I can have it to you in 20 minutes. C. Click. Me. Rude. Did you hear that, boss? Manager. Yeah, 1 large sausage extra cheese. You good? Me. Yup. So I make the pizza. I cut it when it comes out of the oven. I put it in a box. I drive it out to him. I like doing all the steps myself in these calls, especially because customers often play the "someone there made a mistake" card. The guy gives me the cash, exact change, no tip, and opens the box. He gives me a death glare and says, "Where are the rest of my toppings?" Me. That's what you ordered, sir. It matches the ticket. C. No, it isn't. I ordered a meat lover's. Me. Yeah, all the other meats have pork or chicken. C. I meant like no ham or bacon. I'm calling your manager. This is unacceptable. Me. You do that, sir. Have a good one. When I get back, the manager looks at me and said, "That guy's gonna die of a heart attack, that's for D sure." He ordered another one. Full price. Go look at the ticket. I do. Cheese, beef, sausage, Italian sausage, and pepperoni. So I did it all again. Make, bake, cut, box, deliver. When I arrived, the guy looked kinda smug, but I couldn't figure out why, since he hadn't scammed us this time. I asked for the payment, and he asked to see the pizza first. I opened the box and he went to grab it out of my hands. I barely evaded by jerking backwards and said, "Money first, dude." He tried to grab it again, so I dodged and jogged back to the car with the pizza. I saw a neighbor watching and shaking their head while the customer was yelling all kinds of things like "I'm gonna get you fired," and "F you," and so on. I locked the pizza in the car, jogged over to the neighbor, and asked them to do me a small favor. By the time I got back, the neighbor had called my boss and described what happened, and he asked me if that's what happened, and I said yes. So he logged an attempted theft from that customer, and that's how we got a system update to not deliver to that customer anymore. And yeah, we ate the pizza. To some extent, I can understand that I was an a-hole once because of food, because I'll never see you again. However, I can't understand you continuing to be an a-hole in a place where you still eat regularly. They make your food what you put in your mouth? Maybe don't peeve them off or they might ruin your food. I've only returned food once. It was a plain old burger from a cheap chain restaurant. I think the meat was fine, but the bun was frozen everywhere but the outer 2 millimeters. The waiter took it back to the kitchen, and about 10 minutes later she came back with the meat already warm, and the bun toasted to the hardness of a cracker. I paid for my drink, left, and later wrote a polite letter to the company telling them about my experience, and explicitly asking them not to send me gift cards because I wouldn't be coming back. The second story is, don't let the VP know we're over budget. This is a bit long, but several years ago I worked in the purchasing department of a large semiconductor company in the US. Mostly I handled all the non-production purchases and contracts like office equipment, building management, travel contracts, that sort of stuff. But my biggest role was negotiating and approving temp staffing contracts for our US factories. One day a director, we'll call him Bill, sends me a request for $150,000 for temp workers at a small facility in the middle of nowhere, Florida. The news was that a couple of local businesses had closed, and he had this great idea to save the company money by moving some production down there and snatching up those now desperate workers on the cheap. It seemed like a bit of a dumb idea at the time, but it was clearly his pet project, and $150K was within his right to spend without additional approval, so I rubber stamped it and off he went. I hadn't had much interaction with Bill, but he was a pompous A, so I was glad to get rid of him. Now it's important to this story to understand that our company's finances were super tightly controlled. Not a bad thing, but if you wanted to spend $1 over your role's limit, you better have your supervisor's signature in triplicate. Directors like Bill could spend up to $250K, VPs $500K, and anything over $500K had to go all the way up to our CEO for approval. About 3 months later, the trouble starts when Bill suddenly turns back up asking for more money. Turns out rural Florida doesn't have a lot of people with the skills to work in an industrial clean room, and the people who do don't come cheap. The money that was supposed to last a year is already gone, but Bill is certain that he just needs a little more time and asks me to approve another $250K without telling our VP, his boss. I straight up refuse, since it's my literal job to stop this, but Bill, being God's gift to this company, throws an absolute fit. It got ugly, and long story short, my boss directly ordered me to approve Bill's money without escalating it. I got this all in writing since it was sketchy as hell and absolutely something I could get fired for. Finally, Bill's gone and I don't have to see his smug, short, balding head anymore. Or so I thought. Having disrespected the great and powerful Bill, I was now the target of his displeasure. For the next 4 months, I get at least 3 emails or phone calls a day from him or his secretary about something they don't like about the building, the landscaping, the guy who brings the bottled water, the snack selection in the machine, the equipment in the sea-level gym, on and on. I'm getting openly berated for things that have nothing to do with me, but I'm stuck having to deal with them because my boss keeps caving to Bill's whims. And none of my paperwork is getting past his office either. I manage the purchasing for 12 facilities in the US and Europe, but if it needs his signature, I've got to personally bring it to him and stand there while he reviews it or he's refusing to sign. It was somewhere between humiliating and infuriating, and I increasingly wished he'd fall down a staircase. After months of this, finally my chance for malicious compliance arrived. Shockingly, Bill hasn't managed to turn his pet project around, and what do you know? Just needs $250,000 to get him through the year. I sign off, add money to the purchase order, which now totals a cool $650K, and shoot off an email to both him and my boss to remind them that this won't be shown to the VP. Then I print everything out, including the direct order not to show it to the VP, and march over to the CEO's office for him to sign. After all, it was now over the $500K required limit, and Bill never asked for him not to see it. All hell broke loose when they realized Bill's little project was $500,000 over budget. He didn't lose his job, but he refused to speak to me after that, which was exactly what I wanted. The Florida project was scrapped and was retasked to making basic electrical components. My boss was initially peeved, but once he realized my insistence on getting Bill's order in writing had probably saved both our ace, the whole thing went away. I was there for another year, and thankfully Bill never made an appearance at my office ever again. How does your boss still have a job? You and your boss are required to block orders over a certain limit, unless the vice president signs off on it. But your boss decided to approve it just because the director told you to? Your boss telling you to pay up must have been the end of his career. I really think the OP's boss tells them to approve it, and then shifts the blame from the OP to his boss. My guess is that in this case, the company was so annoyed with Bill that they weren't going to waste energy blaming the OP and their boss for not following the process, especially since they were the ones who let them know what was going on at the end. A few years ago, I found myself in this situation at the regional office of a major national media company. In many ways, it was a case of, I'm the corporate golden child, and if you don't violate corporate policy, I will make an excuse to fire you and anyone else who refuses. Sister company has so much weight in town that you'll never get another good job in your field in this town. I relented a few times, but finally said, whew, I can leave town if I have to. I have enough money to last 9 months easily, and I refused. The last story is, landlord doesn't want me to fix anything? Fine by me. Quite a few years later, I became a student in some 85,000 people town, and having a bit of money on the side from late grandpa, I decided I would find myself a one-room flat instead of campus, where I would probably be drinking and doing stupid SH. I found a fairly cheap flat to rent, just at the outskirts of the town, not in the best condition, but who cares? It's a living. Landlord seemed okay, in his late 40s or early 50s. We signed a contract and it was all done. Now before I start writing further, I always paid rent and everything else, water, electricity, on time. And there was no issue with that, or noise from me or anything of such kind. Now once I moved in, I noticed the flat was a mess. Everything was waiting to collapse, from old wooden chairs with effed up wooden joints, mold on the shower curtain, semi-broken window frame, and a mattress you wouldn't have sex on, because of potential spring in the pooper accident. The guy cleverly managed to hide it, and I missed all of it. But never mind me being a bit handy with everything, I decided to fix most of it myself. So I bought bleach for the toxic sludge in the bathroom, some wood glue for the chairs, tile glue for the floor, etc. This guy comes in for rent next month and sees the tiles are in order. I removed the ugly yellow carpet. He was angry, and I mean really angry. If you have a problem, you call me. Don't fix it yourself, stupid village idiot. Village idiot is maybe the nicest translation, given that he insulted me based on me coming from a 500 people village. Want to play that way? Fine by me. I'm not an aggressive or confrontational guy, but I hold a grudge and I'm smart enough to make a bit of a ruckus. I decided to take it literally enough and call him for every little flea-sized problem I can find. So a plan was made. I took pictures and documented everything, from bigger issues to smallest, including a slightly bent night lamp leg. I looked up his schedule. Early days of social media were perfect for that, and crossed it with mine, so I knew when to call for repairs. Now under contract, he wasn't allowed in unless I gave him permission to be there with me, so I decided I would make him do repairs while I'm there. How to ensure he would fix everything? Easy. Back up all pictures with damages and say it will end up on all the social media and even local newspaper if need be. Or, thanks to my buddies at college, ensure that his name would come out in a mandatory information email for new students at the beginning of the school year, so everybody would avoid him in the future. And it worked, a bit to my surprise. And the hell started for him. He wasn't used to manual labor, an investor dealing in gray areas of the economy, but he was too cheap to pay somebody to do it for him. He didn't know how to screw in a light bulb, let alone fix a kitchen table or window sill. I regularly called him to reschedule the most idiotic times, like 6 a.m. or 11 p.m., sometimes even letting him start driving his car to the flat, only to call him back that I'm unavailable. I was a monster, sending him requests to repair the smallest ant bites in the rug, and annoying him all the time, like humming a song he despised, until 2 months in when I realized he was white as talc powder and tired as an infant just off the tee. It turned out he started smoking again due to stress, and couldn't get any sleep because of me for days at a time. Finally, when he went to unscrew the drain pipe in the mini kitchen, I asked him want me to take care of it. He looked at me the same way Bernie Sanders looks at Sweden's spending budget and apologized for being a D. Finally, the flat was fairly okay to live in. After the contract ended, I signed up for the campus room. Potential spring in the pooper accident is something incredible. I laughed for more than a minute at this phrase. In my opinion, this is a great plan for how to get tired of a person at his own will. Like every call for some small problem is like a petty revenge for those words. And every time you call him, he cursed the words he said every time. I'm sure. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.